I started CA in 2018 with Tabani School of Accountancy at the very place where we are sitting right now.
Where did you get an idea that आपको CA करना है, you want to be a chartered accountant? Where did that inspiration come from?
As far as CA is concerned, the only aspect traditionally at that point of time was that this profession is going to pay you more as compared to the rest of the professions like engineering or medical. So that one aspect is kind of enough for you to decide this qualification. So I think that was purely the inspiration to join CA.
So the pure inspiration was money.
Honestly,
you,
yes.
You said that you lived in Karachi. So of course your family was back in Hyderabad. Where did you live and how did that transition, or you could say how did that period in your life change you as a person?
So I think for all of these students who are coming from either interior Sindh, interior Punjab, Balochistan or anywhere except Karachi, obviously they live here as a bachelor, and I think that is one of the main challenges that they face initially living as a bachelor. That emotional aspect was obviously a bit difficult to live on your own. Obviously it has its own pros and cons, but yeah,
Yes, of course.
overall on a level I can call it was a bit challenging to live here 5 years on your own away from family.
So let's talk about the students who want to work abroad after they have completed their articles, right? So what are the practical steps one should keep in their mind whilst they're thinking about going abroad and working there as a chartered accountant?
Right. So obviously, as I said, there are two kinds of students. One who qualify within articles on a timely basis. These are like just 1 to 2% of the entire population, and then there are like 90% of people who qualify after articles. So if you are planning, I'm just talking about the assurance profession, and more or less the process is same for people coming from the advisory department and others as well. But talking about the people coming from the assurance sector. So if you want to move abroad, be it any region of the world, let's say someone wants to go to the Middle Eastern region, explore Dubai, Saudi, or someone wants to explore Europe, UK, and these kind of countries, Ireland or Dublin. So you have to plan in advance, first of all, obviously.
Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Beyond Balance Sheet. This is your host Alish Badnan, and today we're joined by a very special personality. Ladies and gentlemen, he is here from London, that is one thing. And if you talk about his profession, he is a qualified chartered accountant with over 6 years experience in the assurance industry. Ladies and gentlemen, he completed his articles from Gan Thornton, Karachi, and he completed his CA during his articles. Then later, post-qualification, he moved to London in EY head office working in the financial services sector. So ladies and gentlemen, let's just not keep you and the guests waiting. Let's welcome Mr. Yasir Unar. Assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Walaikum salam, Alisba. I'm good, how are you?
I'm great. First of all, thank you so very much for joining us and gracing our podcast with your presence. How does it feel coming back to TSA after such a long time?
Well, thank you very much for having me, and it's great to be back here. I think I'm coming here after 7 years. I started CA in 2018 with Tabani School of Accountancy at the very place where we are sitting right now. And I mean, it's great to be here after 7 years, just having nostalgic feelings.
All right. It feels great to have you as an alumni back, not just as a student. Well, Yasir, let's just delve into the conversation. And as we were having a conversation before this as well, you are not originally from Karachi.
Yeah.
You moved from interior Sindh to Karachi and for your studies, which is one big thing. So how did the transition feel? And not just the transition, first of all, where did you get an idea that आपको CA करना है, you want to be a chartered accountant? Where did that inspiration come from?
I think if you talk about that inspiration of starting this journey of chartered accountancy, I primarily belong to Hyderabad, and as an interior Sindh, there are not as many opportunities in terms of the educational pursuits for these students as there are in Karachi, Lahore or Islamabad. So being there, for any student who is maybe in school or in colleges, obviously when you are doing your intermediate or in A levels, you then think about pursuing your higher education, whether in terms of engineering or medical. So I think at that point of time, I was just wondering what options available I have in interior Sindh there, and then as I said, I'm from Hyderabad, so there's this one university called Mehran University for engineering, but my perception about it and the products from there, the qualified students or the engineers from there was not that good. So I always wanted to kind of explore something else But as far as CA is concerned, the only aspect traditionally at that point of time was that this profession is going to pay you more as compared to the rest of the professions like engineering or medical. So I think being a 17-year-old guy, just in an intermediate, just a college student, that one aspect, especially if you're coming from a middle class background, that one aspect is kind of enough for you to decide this qualification. So I think that was purely the inspiration to join CA.
So the pure inspiration was money.
Honestly,
you-
yes. Well, if you ask me, I think 6 years later, now I'm a qualified chartered accountant. Now, if someone asks me, someone should join CA or not, I can give him 1,000 reasons to join or not. But I think, as I said, for a young guy who doesn't know as much, and especially in interiors, I've realized this particular thing that where I come from in Karachi as compared to the rest of the students which I interacted with during my time in Karachi. I spent 6 years in Karachi, by the way, during my tenure as a CA student from AFC till MSA. So what I realized is that there's a lot of great career counseling here. People are guided here in terms of what to do ahead. But I think back in our time in interiors, and there didn't used to be any kind of career counseling sessions or something like that, which can help students shape their careers in terms of deciding what to do next. So I think at that point of time, only money was the deciding factor, and especially if you associate our profession CA, which is mainly associated with money, in terms of at the start, like for any ordinary or layman. So obviously, I think that one reason was kind of enough for me to join CA.
All right, very well said. And yes, I do agree with the point where you raised and you said that there are not enough career counseling in interior Sindh, and I would actually say that there are not much opportunities in Karachi as well. So it's good that you decided something, no matter what the perspective was at that time, but it has led you here today with us and in working as a professional. So I think the decision was very well made. And as you said earlier on as well, I would like to continue the conversation. You said that you lived in Karachi, so of course your family was back in Hyderabad. Where did you live, and how did that transition, or you could say, how did that period in your life change you as a person?
So I think for all of these students who are coming from either interior Sindh, interior Punjab, Balochistan, or anywhere except Karachi, obviously they live here as a bachelor, and I think that is one of the main challenges that they face initially living as a bachelor, because I think for students joining chartered accountancy or ACCA, there are not any hostels provided by, let's say, the institutions of ICAP or anything like that. So you have to kind of look on your own. There are some hostels in Karachi, but not, not of that quality. So I still remember there is this, where we are sitting right now in Tabanis, there's this one building opposite to that. So I still remember there was this kind of a small hostel run by an auntie. So initially I was there, but then, 6 months into the Karachi, made some friends, got to know some other people coming from the rest of the areas of interior Sindh, and then we kind of got this apartment where we kind of lived in a setup of hostel. It was an apartment where kind of used to have this one cook and then 6 friends living together. So kind of a hostel feeling, but yeah, it was good. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the challenges, of course.
Because you were living away from your family, like I said earlier on as well.
Yeah.
So how did that come?
I think, to be very honest, at that point of time, that fear of completing the qualification, because chartered accountancy is not like any other traditional qualifications of engineering or medical, where you just come to university, spend 4 years, and you are done.
Yes.
You have to put a lot of effort to make sure you clear, and especially if you qualify in first attempt. So at that point of time, I think the only feeling I used to have was about, obviously, there are challenges when you live away from your family, live as a bachelor, that emotional kind of a thing, to be away from your city, to be away from your family and parents, and not able to kind of see them for months and months while you're preparing for chartered accountancy examinations. I think that emotional aspect was obviously a bit difficult to live on your own. Obviously, it has its own pros and cons, but yeah,
Yes, of course.
overall on a level I can call it was a bit challenging to live here 5 years on your own away from family.
Of course, indeed, it must have been very difficult. As you said earlier on, that all of you, the guys living in the apartment or whatever, used to do all of your work on your own. So it's a challenge in its own way. And then, of course, studying for exams as hard as CA, that's also one challenge in itself. So, you completed your articles from Grant Thornton.
Yeah.
And, it's not considered as one of the big 4 firms in Pakistan. And then when you come towards discussing about the articles, the experience and all of that, we'll come towards that as well. But what skills or what experiences did you take away in Grant Thornton that you still think that, all right, maybe I did not get into Big 4 firm, but I got this out of Grant Thornton, so I'm glad.
Yeah, I think so. Whenever for any CA student, when they are in CAF level, which is the second level of CA qualification, and then the next level for them is obviously CA finals, and at the same time you have to join an audit firm. So everybody here or in anywhere around the globe, they just dream of going into the Big Four firm. But obviously, just because of this capacity constraints in these firms, obviously they'll hire only a limited number of individuals. But I think the case was different at my point of time. It was, I remember, 2019 during the COVID period. So none of the Big Four audit firms opened their induction. I still remember there was this A. Ferguson's, I think, they opened the kind of this induction program, but I was not able to make it to the interview round, obviously. And then, but before that, even I had already joined Grant Thornton because I didn't want to waste my time. So I still remember there was a kind of a thing that some of my class fellows were kind of wasting the 6 months and then again applying in Big Four and going into there. But I think, as I said, already I was living as a bachelor. I didn't want to kind of drag my journey 6 months further from 5 years to, let's say, 5.5 or 6 years.
And then there's also an aspect, right, that if you don't get into a firm or you don't start with your articleship, you cannot give the examination. So basically your entire qualification gets spread away.
You're dragging your qualification by 6 months, and I think situation has got worse in the last 2 years. Although I live in London, but I'm kind of in touch with what's going on in the Pakistani market in terms of the CAF qualified students, how they kind of approaching to the firms and what are the issues that are faced by them in terms of the induction. So obviously, there's this increased number of these students qualifying in every attempt, and these firms are having the same capacity. There are no new firms, no new organizations. So obviously, you kind of have to save yourself on a safe side. You have to get yourself inducted in an audit firm. So I think Grant Thornton at that point of time, obviously, it's kind of a 5th ranked firm in Pakistan. Obviously, it was not a bad option. It falls in Big Six. So being a student at that time, I had this regret of not going into the Big Four, despite of qualifying all the examinations in first attempt in NCA, which is in itself is a big achievement. But I think I just decided to kind of carry on with that, not waste my time, and just complete my qualification as early as I can. I think your second question about in terms of the skills and the experience that you kind of, I think, so in any firm, whether it's, let's say, Ferguson's, Big Four, non-Big Four firms, Grant Thornton, so the experience varies from, let's say, the sections to sections or the student to student. So I think my experience was kind of a mix. I was not expecting it to be that good when I ended kind of on a high note from my perspective, because I qualified with articles, which is, I believe, the main objective for any CA student, right? When you join chartered accounts, you don't aim or you don't dream of going into a Big Four firm. You just dream of becoming a qualified chartered accountant. So I think that's a primary goal. And on day one, I decided it's okay. I'm not in Big Four, but my sole objective is to qualify in first attempt, and that too within articles, which I think I did. But yeah, obviously, I think not going into the Big Four and then going into the non-Big Four firms like Grant Thornton, BDO, and then any other firm, it has its pros and cons. It's not that you're not into Big Four, your career is over, anything like that. It's not like that. So obviously, it comes with its own advantages and disadvantages. So I think in terms of the advantages, I'll just say, because you're in a non-Big Four firm, the structure is pretty small, the hierarchy is pretty small. You don't have a big hierarchy like, assistant manager, senior manager, director, and partner. This is the hierarchy that goes in Big Four firms normally. But then in the non-Big Four audit firms like Grant Thornton, the hierarchy goes from like assistant manager, and then directly the partner. And sometimes, really, I've not seen in my career, I think for 4 years I spent in Karachi's Grant Thornton office, but there was no senior manager, for example. So the hierarchy was pretty small. So you get to, connect with the partner directly. You get this opportunity of interacting with them directly. He knows you by name. He knows you how good you are at your work. And then kind of, this is kind of also an opportunity in terms of interacting with the audit partners or the managers, and also the engagements. So these non-Big Four audit firms also have plenty of kind of small audit clients where you are given the sole responsibility of looking at the entire engagement at a very young stage of your career, let's say maybe in the second year of your article. So I think this provides you like team leadership skills, project management skills, and obviously this confidence of interacting with the audit partners, senior managers and directors at a very young age. So I think that was a pro that I look at, and which is kind of helping me at the moment while working in London as well.
Very well explained, and I must say how you explained that, since the hierarchy was really small, or you could say you could reach the partner like you said. So of course it has its pros and cons as well. So all those students watching who are waiting for the induction process to start, or they are getting to get inducted. So I think this is a good message for them, that even if you don't get into the Big Four firms, it's okay. Every aspect has its pro and its con. So even if you don't get in there, you have other options open. And like you said, and like you are actually, you did your articles from Grant Thornton and then you transitioned to EY. We'll come to that. So you could always do that, and it's okay if you're not getting into a Big Four. We've created a stigma around the thoughts and around the society that this is something that you have to achieve. And like you said, that the goal should be to complete chartered accountancy. Articles, they can be varied.
Yeah.
So like I said earlier on as well, that you completed your articles from GT and then you are now working in EY, London head office.
Yeah.
So how did that happen, and how did the transition made you feel, and talk about that.
I was about to come to that. So obviously, when you're about to complete your articles, or especially in case of those students, like when you're completing your examinations first attempt, you're seeing it, my articles are about to end, for example, in the next year. And then let's say, 6 months before the end of your articles, or 1 year before the end of your article, you start kind of planning where you want to go.
Yes.
And then for Pakistani qualified chartered accountants working in the assurance sector in Pakistan, obviously, you've got these two regions mainly if you want to work in the assurance sector abroad. First is the Middle Eastern region, and second is the western part of the world, which is basically UK, Europe, and all that. And being an articles trainee and interacting with some of the seniors, and based on their experience, I just had this one thought in my mind where I used to say, because you study, when you're a CA student and CA finals, you get to have, you need to put a lot of effort to clear these exams. And by the time you qualify, you're already drained up, because I like literally used to study 16 hours a day. And for a guy who studied 16 hours a day for 5 years, he'll not have much of energy to kind of, work too many extra hours in the firm or something like that. So I always wanted to avoid that Middle Eastern region part of the world, which is like Saudi, Dubai, because, based on the experiences of my colleagues and seniors, I've always heard, they get to have this throughout the year. They kind of have busy seasons, and they have to spend, a lot of late sittings and a lot of late hours. So from that perspective, the western part of the world kind of attracted me, and my only objective was to go to a place, obviously, first of all, get myself inducted in a big four firm from a better career perspective, but also from a point of view that I want to have this work-life balance kind of a thing. So I think that was mainly the objective of going to UK in first place. And now talking about the transition from Grant Thornton to EY London, I think during my articles, when I qualified within articles, so I already had the 6 months span of time. I was kind of free. I was applying everywhere, and then making sure around the globe I get these opportunities. And I think I secured kind of 5 to 4 offer letters from different parts of the world, Cayman Islands, Saudi, Dubai, everywhere. But I think this was the end result. But about the process and the transition, initially, obviously, just like any other, articles trainee from a non-Big Four audit firm, I faced this challenge of applying into the Big Four audit firms and getting rejected. Because obviously, in everywhere around the globe, they have this kind of requirement that you need to be from a Big Four audit firm. Even from a Big Four transition, for example, if you're going from KPMG Karachi to KPMG London, they'll prefer that guy as compared to a guy coming from GT Karachi, obviously, So this transition kind of a thing, was a bit challenging, but I just kept on applying. I used to apply kind of, on 30 or 20 jobs on a daily basis, getting this rejection emails on a daily basis, but I just kept on applying,
It's good that you kept on going.
Exactly, because, that was the only option, right? You can't do anything else. You have to just keep on applying. You have to just try your luck. So I think that was this thing, and then I was able to kind of secure at least 3 offers from EY around the globe, I remember. And that too within my article. So I think I was kind of lucky enough in that, but that kind of was the objective, at least. As I said, you have to prepare for that 6 months ago.
You said that you got offers from 3 of the EY.
3 EY, and then there are other firms other than EY around the globe.
So one was EY London. I'm sorry, I'm just getting really excited. One was EY London, the other two?
The other two was Isle of Man. So, there's this kind of Isle of Man and then Isle of Red. So there are different regions around in the UK as well. And then one was in Saudi as well. I got the offer from there as well. But yeah.
So London, the offer in London attracted you the most because of, like you said, the Western culture and everything like that.
It was probably about the region that attracted me more as compared to the particular office, because when you're sitting in Karachi, you don't know what's going on in these respective offices, whether it be London, be it Saudi, but you're aware about the culture, about these late sittings, or how do they kind of approach a new employee, or how they kind of set up, and you also have to look at from a long-term perspective of your career. So I think London was my first choice at that point of time. From a region perspective as well, that you have to kind of explore the European side of the world, and as well as because talking about these other regions, be it Saudi, be it Dubai, you're near to Pakistan, right? You can come back anytime where you want, but something that you have not seen, or you were not even imagined. So it's good to at least explore that at first place. So I think London was the first choice because of that, and obviously because of that work-life culture.
All right. Since you talked about the work-life culture, what major differences did you notice in Pakistan, and then when you went to UK, what were the basic differences that you can highlight?
I think if I explain that, so the entire difference has to be about planning.
All right.
I'll give an example. So, for example, I'm working in EY London right now, or be it in any other firm of London or UK. For example, if we have to start an audit of, let's say, in January 2027, and we are standing in, let's say, April 2026, there are still 9 months to start the audit.
Yes.
But 9 months before, me, my audit team, my manager, everyone will be agreeing with the audit partner what procedures we will be performing kind of, 9 months later.
Yes.
So, they kind of plan everything in advance. And I think that is one of the issues that we face in Pakistan. They just don't plan anything. I was also in GT, but I think for the rest of the firms as well, be it any other big four firm, things are at least much more worse there, let me tell you, based on the experience of my friends and all the colleagues. But yeah, I think we need to plan in a proper way. And I think that is something we lack here. You have to plan in advance. You have to plan the hours spent by any good training throughout the year. What happens that if, for example, in London, they just plan that this guy will be at least working, for example, 3 months. Busy season will be for him, and then for the rest of the 9 months he will be kind of just working 9 to 5. But that doesn't happen in Pakistan. So, like for example, if you have just finished your season working, coming back from a 3-month season of let's say you've completed the audit of a bank, and then you spent crazy hours, too many late sittings, and then you've got just 1 month of rest, and then again you've got one big audit client on which you have to again spend, let's say 1 month of late sittings, and then this cycle keeps going on, and they even don't have this kind of let's say a calculation of it, how much is how much pressure we are putting on one training, and that also kind of impacts your qualification, right? Because if a student is sitting like till 2 a.m. at night or going late at home, when will he get time to study? Exactly. So obviously that is something, it impacts the qualification of the student as well as obviously the work-life balance affects your mental health as well, and that is something I believe especially from the, as I said, western part of the world, they take care of it really, really well. They make sure to take care of your mental.
Catered exactly. Yes. Yeah. And like you said that work-life balance is something which I believe is also very much lacking in Pakistan, the audit firms that we see. And the point that you noted and spotted, that was that usually students stay in the firms till 2 a.m., 3 a.m. working on their clients. And yes, when you keep a work-life balance, I think the end result, the productiveness also increases kind of.
Exactly.
So,
because you have to kind of maintain a balance, right? Doing the articles, learning the skills and experience, that is one part of your goal, right? But you don't have to forget the major part of your goal, which is basically the qualification.
Yes.
So I've seen a lot of students, a lot of my seniors as well in my audit firm. I think while I was working in GT Karachi, so there were some people who were kind of addicted to work so much. They used to just kind of love late sittings and stand there. But by the end of their articles, they would not have achieved this qualification, and then you'll have to suffer later on, because right after articles, when you join in, let's say a company, or you go to the industry or any other firm as an employee, your responsibilities are much bigger as compared to when you are working as an audit trainee. You don't have that much of pressure. You don't have that much of responsibility. Your job is not at stake. You're just an intern. So mistakes are acceptable. But when you become an employee of a company, and then obviously
stakes are high, of course.
Exactly. You don't get time to complete your qualification by then. And why to delay it further? I mean, already this chartered accountancy, if you clear it in first attempt, still it takes you 5 years, just because of the number of exams and this internship thing. Then why to drag it further? So I think I had this just kind of a basic thing in my mind, that just to finish it as soon as possible and not drag it further.
Very good approach. And I hope the officials actually listen to this so that they could do something about it as well.
Hopefully.
So, all right. So let's talk about the students who want to work abroad after they have completed their articles, right? Since you are the person who actually did it. So what are the practical steps one should keep in their mind whilst they're thinking about going abroad and working there as a chartered accountant?
Right. So obviously, as I said, there are two kinds of students. One who qualify within articles on a timely basis. These are like just 1 to 2% of the entire population, and then there are like 90% of people who qualify after articles. So if you are planning, I'm just talking about the assurance professional, and more or less the process is same for people coming from the advisory department and others as well. But talking about the people coming from the assurance sector. So if you want to move abroad, be it any region of the world, let's say someone wants to go to the Middle Eastern region, explore Dubai, Saudi, or someone wants to explore Europe, UK, and these kind of countries, Ireland or Dublin. So you have to plan in advance. First of all, obviously, you have to, assuming that you are already a qualified chartered accountant, you have to first year, I just kind of divide it when I guide some of my, juniors or even my colleagues who are staying in Pakistan and want to go abroad. I just divide it in steps. So the first step is make an Excel sheet. highlight those regions where you actually want to go. And then you, for example, you come up with 4 regions: Saudi, Dubai, Ireland, UK, and let's say America. Then you have to highlight the audit firms, and then I would say, for example, highlight, let's say, top big 6 firms of these regions, and then go to their websites, see what jobs they have, and do this activity on a weekly basis. For example, if any new opportunity comes up, so that you are kind of aware that they have announced an opening and you've got an opportunity to apply, and then just apply on that with an ATS approved resume. That's kind of an entire separate discussion. We'll come to that, about how to apply. Just applying from a simple CV and then throwing your CV on a portal doesn't make you get selected for the interview. There's a proper procedure for that. So you have to first of all highlight your regions where you want to go. You have to plan in advance. You have to keep applying there. You have to got yourself keep in touch with the people who are already working there. For example, if I'm working in Eve Island, you have to stay in touch with people like me. Ask for in terms of the references, if you could refer us somewhere, or if there are any opportunities, so that we can kind of update you about that. And then obviously whenever a vacancy is announced, it's obviously on the website as well, on the LinkedIn as well. So you have to just kind of approach it in that particular way.
All right, since you labeled the ATS friendly resume that you just mentioned, would you like to tell us about that how do you actually apply it, as you said?
So ATS approved format it's just kind of a simple format. What happens is, for example, let's say if PwC London announces a job as an audit senior for the financial services, let's say in the banking sector. Okay. So now people around the globe, at least, for example, if they want to hire, let's say, 30 people, but the number of people who will apply to that will be in like thousands, right? At least 3,000 people will be applying around the globe. And people here in the HR of PwC London will not have that much time to kind of evaluate each and every CV separately. So what they do is they kind of go with this ATS approved format system, where the system reads your CV.
All right.
The system looks for the key info. For example, if I say, this, the requirement says this guy should have experience in the banking sector. So what the system will do, the system will basically search for that banking word and these keywords in your resume. And for example, if the requirement says this guy should have at least experience of 6 years, the system will search that experience, at least 6 years experience or something like that. What happens is there are these formats, there are specific formats called as the ATS approved formats. These are frequently available on the internet, and what you have to do, you have to apply with that particular format. What happen, and I think just talking about the main characteristics of it, for example, if in a normal resume that we follow in Pakistan or locally is like, for example, you're having these long CVs and designs, rectangles, anything like that. So the difference between these two formats is simply that if you're not having this ATS approved format and going with this ordinary CV, there is a risk that the system will not be able to read that information from there. For example, if it is not able to kind of read that this girl or guy is having 6 years of experience, or is experience in the banking sector, or is a qualified chartered accountant, it will straight away reject you, and then you will receive a system generated automated email that you have been rejected for that particular opening, right? And then you'll say, I was qualified, I had the 6 years experience, what did I do wrong? So obviously, you have to apply that. And I think initially it was just in the western part of the world, but everybody around the globe have now followed it, especially big 6 firms have now followed it. I know things are a bit different in the Middle Eastern part of the world, going through the references, or interviews are conducted separately, but you have to anyways apply through the portals. So as qualified chartered accountants, you guys just need to make sure that you apply with the correct format. I would personally recommend, whenever you prepare a CV, before applying, just have your resume reviewed with any of the seniors who are already working there. They might guide you about something that this is something wrong or right in your CV, or what amendments you should ideally make in this resume to kind of make it as friendly to the ATS as you can.
That is a really good advice, because usually what we wonder after getting rejected is that on what grounds were we actually rejected. We don't get to know the reason, but of course, and it makes sense, of course, when you're getting 3,000 applications, and of course you're going to use the system to actually help you out with that, and especially in the AI generated world, then of course you're going to do that.
Exactly.
So as we're walking towards the end of the podcast, it's the conversation is so engaging. What message would you want to leave for the audience? Any general message that you would want to say? Well,
I think if I look at this entire community of chartered accountants who are, let's say there are 2 types of people. First, who are still studying it, and second, who have already completed it.
Yes.
So for all the people who are currently studying, be it at CAF level, be it in CE finals, try to prioritize your qualification. Try to study as much as you can. Just clear these examinations in first attempt, so that you can just kind of approach the targets that you have set in your lives. Because if you want to drag this qualification to 7 to 8 to 10 years, there is no advantage of that. Obviously, you have planned something, just complete it in first attempt, spend as many hours as you can on the studies, clear examinations in first attempt, be focused, and then qualify, and you'll live your life. There is a lot to do other than chartered accountancy or just studying these books in the world.
Very well said, and a very heartfelt message as well. How was your experience overall, Yasser? How did it feel coming back to TSA? Then not as a student but as a guest. How did it feel? How
I
was
think
the experience?
it's amazing, to be very honest. I was in a conversation with them. And I think we have been planning this for last 1 year, but
Alright.
luckily on my at this visit I've been able to make it. I was actually straight coming from Hyderabad this morning. I was there. My
Alright.
family lives there, so it's amazing to be here. I was just when I was even entering the building, I was looking at everything. You know, you come here like 7 years later. You started your journey here, and especially if you have achieved or something that you kind of started a journey for it, it's always a great feeling to be back here, and such an amazing experience with you guys as well.
Thank you so very much for taking our time for this podcast, Yasser. It was an amazing discussion and conversation with you. And thank you everyone for watching. Catch you in the next episode.